Morning, guys. March the 23rd here in central Illinois. Cold, 31 degrees out there. We might even have a chance for a little bit of snow flurries later on in the weekend. But what I wanted to show you is something I'm just screwing around with. I'm always doing something. You get tired of working on a project and you branch out something else to take a break from it. But what I've got here are two Bing American Outline locomotives. The one in the front is a clockwork, and the one in the back is an electric. But I bought the electric one off of an auction with a complete set of those cars over there. Part of those cars came with this locomotive and another locomotive I've got. But anyhow, I bought this, 4, maybe 5 years ago, at least 4 years ago. And I've ran it off and on. Right now, the damn E-unit, it's got a sliding E-unit. It just sits there and vibrates, so I'm going to have to pull it apart and either fix it or just wire it straight. But anyhow, it runs, and it runs well. Well, here about a year ago, I picked the thing up, and all of a sudden, the valve guides are loose. And I'm figuring, well, what's the matter with the valve guide? Well, let's take a quick look, if we can. If you'll notice, where that valve guide comes up to the cylinder front, it's busted. It had been epoxied together. And the other side is exactly the same way. Now, I am absolutely and positively sure that the individual that I bought this from did not have a clue. Because, after all, it ran, it was solid, and I don't know why it's loose now, but it is. So, of course, that kind of put my undies in a bunch, and you know how hard it is to virtually find parts for something like this. It ain't going to happen unless it just drops out of the sky. Well, lo and behold, 6 months ago, I was bidding on that Bing electric outline from Stouts, and in the auction right after that was this wind-up. And I intended to buy it for the guides. That's the only thing I wanted it for, was the guides. I don't know what happened. I got distracted, and the next thing you know, it was already sold. Sold for $120 plus your shipping and your fees. And so I've been in a pissed off mood ever since. I had to have it had to be a lapse of old man memory is what it had to amount to. But anyhow, a month and a half ago, Stout has another auction, and I'm out there looking, and I see a 1-gauge wind-up for sale. And I'm saying to myself, this thing looks really familiar. So I go back to the old auction, and lo and behold, there it is. So undoubtedly, whoever bought it in the auction didn't pay for it, and it came up for sale again. And I had already swore to God Almighty that I was going to buy this thing. I stayed online, and I got it bought for less than what it sold for 6 months before. And I took the guides off. Now, I don't have them all up here because the screws are small. But here's the guide. Cast iron. It will mount right on this. I'll take those old guides off. I'll put this new guide on, and I've got a whole set of screws for this, and I'll have a set of screws off of that one. So nothing's going to be thrown away, because I may take those guides and see if they can't actually be either soldered, or what would be great to do is if you could find a jeweler that could silver solder it back together. That, because this was, you can see how thin, not my fingers, but you can see how thin that is. And they would have a torch and everything that they'd be able to do that. Now, what I did to experiment, I had penetrating oil that I put on the back side of these. The screw holes go all the way through that cylinder. And I put a drop of Kroll penetrating oil on each one yesterday. Doesn't affect the paint at all. And they broke right loose. So that's what I'll do to this one. I'll take the side rods off. I'll put some penetrating oil on the screw. I don't know if you can see them or not. Yeah, you can just barely see that top screw. But they should break loose, and I'll put these other guides on it, and we'll have it back to its original configuration. And we will not throw the other parts away. We will hang on to them with dear life. All right, guys, have a good weekend. Stay sober. It is going to be Saturday night. We'll see you next week, maybe. Toodaloo.